इन्नल्लाहा व मलाइकतहु युसल्लूना अलन नबी या अय्युहल्लज़ीना आमनू सल्लु अलैहि व सल्लिमू तस्लीमा।
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء تفرد بالأولية والقدم وسمى كل شيء ما عداه بالفناء والعدم كما قال عز شان كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه وكل نفس ذائقة الموت وقال كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام سبحان من لا يخفى عليه اختلاف النيات ولا يعزب عنه معاصي العباد في الخلوات سبحان الله الذي منه خلقة العباد وإليه المعاد فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الملك الذي لا ينازع في ملكه ولا يضاد في حكمه يعذب من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء ويرحم من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء تعذيبه المسيئين عدو عفوه تفضل ونشهد أن محمدا سيد المرسلين وخير المبشرين والمنذرين صلى الله عليه وآله الهداة المهديين من ركب سفينته النجا واهتدى ومن تخلف عنها ضل فغرق وهوى أوصيكم عباد الله بالاعتصام بالتقوى فإنه حبل متين وعروة وثقى فقد قال أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب عليه الصلاة والسلام إن استصعبت عليه نفسه فيما تكره لم يعطها سؤلها فيما تحب قرة عينه فيما لا يزول وزهادته فيما لا يبقى صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I begin by advising myself and all of you to adopt the taqwa of Allah as is the best of provisions. The discussion that I wanted to speak about today is from the kalam of Amir al-Mu'mineen, in which Imam ﷺ addresses the elements of awakening. There's an entire discussion where Imam focuses on the elements of negligence, and then after addressing the elements of negligence, meaning things that lead to heedlessness and negligence, then Imam gives the solutions and talks about the elements of awakening. He says, if his self refuses to endure a thing which it does not like, he does not grant its request towards what it likes. The coolness of his eye lies in what is to last forever, while from the things of this world that will not last, he keeps himself distant. In these short word or smaller sentences rather, which carry bigger meaning, it is important that we understand what the commentators have talked about, deriving and deducing from these words of Amir al-Mu'mineen and highlighting for us the elements of awakening. Number one that Imam mentions here, and he's addressing, which we can derive from the initial sentence which says, "Inistas'abat alayhi nafsu fima takrahu," the painful incidents of life. Of course, everyone goes through ups and downs in their lives. Ebbs and flows are part of our lifetime or lifestyle, or rather our lives. And it's not always that your, time will be there. Rather, sometimes there will be a downfall. Sometimes there will be a low point in your life. Sometimes there will be a high point in your life. And this is all acceptable by all of us. We're not always going to be on top of the game all the time. There will be times when we are tired. There will be times when we are lacking energy. There are times when we slack. At those times, of course, others will take lead. So the painful incidents, which are sometimes in our hands and sometimes they are not in our hands, both are part of the life. So painful incidents could include something that I have done myself to cause myself into that trouble, or a painful incident could be something which the society has caused it to be an impact on me. And it could be natural phenomena that could be effective toward, my painful, incidents that I face in my life. One of the philosophies behind unpleasant incidents and the severe turmoil in life, which many of us have faced, is to bring us out of negligence. Because the last thing a person is worried about at that moment when he or she is facing trouble is in the fikr and the contemplation of luxuries, right? When the house is on fire, you don't mow the lawn. You worry about mowing the lawn afterwards. Now you have to put out the fire first. So when difficult turmoil come toward you, that awakens you right away. That brings and calls, it sort of serves as a wake-up call for you. Up until this point, you and I may have fallen into slumber and negligence. The moment this severe incident strikes us, right away, it opens our eyes. So that's one of the philosophies, is to the unpleasant events that happen, don't regard them as something which is, making you look bad or troubling you at the moment. Rather, this is serving as a purpose behind it as well. Rather, it is actually for your own good and for your own benefit, because it's bringing you out of negligence. These incidents act as speed breakers, or these bumps that you have in the on the roads. When you're driving, you get carried away with the drive. There's this bump, the speed breaker, as we call it back home, that breaks your speed basically. So you take heed, you stop, you slow down. You're able to see in each direction. Otherwise, if you just keep on going in the flow, it is possible that you might get into an accident. A straight highway without many turns could be more devastating than the one which has many turns. A lot of times you say, well, why didn't this highway straight? But when you keep on seeing the same thing over and over, and it's so straight that you don't really have to make any effort, and you're just driving, and without, of course, the cars are automatic, so you don't have to really do anything, put it on cruise, and you're just driving it straight. At that moment, it could also be painful. It could also be troublesome because you're not paying much attention to the road. So the highway with many turns actually is better than the highway which is straight. Therefore, look at the floods, the earthquakes, the volcanoes, the hurricanes, and other events that keep us on this high alert. From this perspective, these incidents are in fact what? Favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or it's adab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No, I would look at it from the aspect that it is a favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number two, so that's number one, painful incidents in life. Everyone can relate to these things, personal level, or something that has happened at a community level or at a statewide level. There's certain, scenarios that you and I have been in living in this part of the world or this part of the country that people in the other part of the country may not have faced. So those things bring the best out of us. Number two, which is important, is studying the history of previous nations. History teaches you a very good lesson. History, unless of course history is manipulated and it's been tampered with, then it's not going to serve much of a purpose. But if you have access to true history and the facts, how things actually transpired and took place, then of course it serves as a lesson for us as well. Reading the history of previous nations and their remnants, such as the silent graveyards, the pyramids, the hanging gardens of Babel, and the other wonders of the world, inhabitants of these places are supplicant of history. They are constantly speaking to us. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on numerous occasions in Quran also addresses us, Siru fil ard. He's not telling us to, have a habit of constantly traveling and go on vacations every now and then. But Siru fil ard refers to travel in land so that you may gain experience. One of the things that people have experienced more than the others, those who have seen the world. This actually has become what? A hikayat as well. Dunyadari, dunya dekhi hai jisne dunya dekhi hai uska masalan experience zyada hai. So this is also something which is actually normally used in our day-to-day speech as well. So these are all what? All of these remnants of the previous people are vocal for our sake. History teaches us a lesson that experience and experiments are the best guides for mankind. When you look at the previous administrations, whether you're running for the office, what they have done, where they failed, what they shouldn't have done. Unfortunately, in many countries where the opposition only is there to show a bad image of the current administration so that they can get in power and repeat what they have done in the past. Nothing to improve, nothing to, everyone, of course, primarily, majority of those people are after their own personal benefits and their own manafi'. So that is something which is also to be looked at. For this reason, Amirul Mu'mineen, Imam al-Muttaqeen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, alayhi salatu wasalam, specifies this point in his letter to our second Imam, Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, alayhi salatu wasalam. And look at these words. I won't read the Arabic just to save time. He said, my dear son, though the span of my life is not as that of some other people who have passed away before me, yet I took good care to study their lives, people who lived before me. And then he says, I went through their activities, I contemplated over their deliberations and their actions and their deeds. I studied their remains, relics, and ruins. I pondered over their lives so deeply that I feel as if I have lived and worked with those individuals. So you study them so deeply as if you feel like that you were there with those people. And then Imam says, I know what did them good and what brought them harm. What things that they had done in their time was bringing good to them or was bringing harm to them. And he says, from that, I'm concentrating within these pages and for your good, the knowledge that I so gather. Therefore, history is a mirror. When you look at the history and the historical events, and it doesn't have to be history of 14 centuries ago. which we so hold close to ourselves, and we cherish the history of 14 centuries ago when Islam began. But even the recent history, it doesn't have to be the history of the time of Aimma and Ahlul Bayt. Rather, those things, maybe we know them good enough, we know that history well enough, but rather we have not learned a great deal so that it is implementing our lives. But a history of the recent past, things that have transpired in the last 50 years, last 100 years, those could also serve a great lesson for you. Therefore, history is a mirror which shows the glimpse from the past. It is a link between yesterday and today. That's why the ayat of Quran that was revealed, Noon wal qalami wa ma yasturun. The second surah that is revealed in Quran is chapter 68. Noon, by the pen and that which you write with the pen. Why the pen? Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking an oath by the pen? The first surah that was revealed was Iqra. The second that was revealed was Wal Qalam. First read and then write. Does that tell you anything? It tells us many things. One of the things that it tells us that the importance of this qalam and that which is written with this qalam. Midadul ulama and the damu shuhada. Rasulullah compared the blood of shuhada and the martyrs and the pen and the ink of the scholars. He said on the day of judgment, when both will be placed on the balance, he said, Midadul ulama will have a heavier weight than damu shuhada. Not discounting the blood of shuhada. No, they have attained a very high status and place. But still, the midad of a scholar is heavier than that. If it's serving the right purpose. If it's, canceling the wars, for example. If it's averting danger, for example. If it's served as guidance for mankind. So qalam becomes that important. Why? Qalam is the only means which is connecting you with the past. If it wasn't for this qalam, if it wasn't for this pen, you and I would not have learned a great deal about the past nations, things that people have written regarding those nations. Of course, many opinions are there. We go and compare between the right and the wrong, but it is due to this qalam that Mazi is connected with Hal, and Hal is connected with future. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So history is a light which illuminates our path ahead. Prophet said in a hadith, the most negligent of the people are the ones who do not take heed from the challenges, or rather from the changes that take place in the world. As the changes are taking place in the world, in Middle East, or in Europe nowadays, where the attention is all there, look at, and don't just take it to be something which is just happening and then you tune in and then you go back to your own world and this crisis will be over again. Of course, there are certain times, certain things that are happening in the world are for a set pattern. These things are, many of us have become in tune because we look at them that, this is something which is a pre-planned propaganda, happens for a purpose, for a time being, to divert the attention of the folks from one incident towards another. And then once the diversions has happened, now go back to being normal again. Now, all of a sudden, that you see the gas prices are rising. People are complaining left and right on social media. The gas prices in New Jersey, for example, are hitting $5 a gallon. While people living in California are saying, that's nothing, come over here, it's $7 a gallon. People living in the UK are saying, are you joking? It's $10 or 10 pounds a gallon over there. So everyone is indulged into this conversation and somehow it has to do with what's happening in Europe. And all of a sudden, when people are worried about this gas prices over here, their focus will be over here. And then they will move their focus away from other important things. While you are occupied, your mind is occupied, then they'll be able to achieve what they want to achieve. So this is where Rasulullah points out that ponder, contemplate about death as well. The death of the people that happens around you. This method is one of the most effective means of staying away from negligence. Life of everyone will come to an end and you'll find everyone to be in the graveyard. Remember the story of Bahlul Dana, that someone stole his hat. And instead of looking for that person, Bahlul went to the graveyard. People said, you're really dumb. You should be going after this man who's walking around with your hat in the city. He said, let him enjoy. Eventually he has to come over here. Eventually everyone has to come over here. Why should I run after him? When he's bound to come over here, I'll just wait for him over here. Of course, he was setting an example for all of us that what are you going to gain out of stealing something? What are you going to gain out of hoarding all of this and accumulating all of this and gaining all this power when the end will be that 6 feet long grave where everyone has to enter? Sallallahu Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So there are signs of negligent people. We'll look into the institution of Luqman to find the signs of those who are negligent people. Sixth Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam said, قال لقمان لابنه يا بني لكل شيء علامة يعرف بها. He said, for everything, O my son, there is a sign by which that thing can be recognized and made witness to. He said, وَيُشْهَدْ عَلَيْهَا وَلِلْغَافِلِ ثَلَاثُ عَلَامَاتٍ. And as far as the person who's ghafil and heedless and negligent is concerned, these are 3 signs to look out for that individual whom you can associate with being negligent. Number 1, as-sahwu wal-lahwu wal-nasi. He's always busy in things which are worthless, makes mistakes over and over again, meaning does not learn from the mistake that he has made in the past and then goes and makes the same mistake over again. You don't call this person to be persistent. Rather, this is a mistake and bound to failure. You don't keep on trying that. If you've been bitten by a hole once, in a hole by a snake once, you don't put your hand in it the second time. And third, he forgets a lot. These are the 3 signs, alamat, of a person who's negligent. Keeps himself busy in worthless things, makes mistakes over and over, does not learn from his mistakes, and number 3, forgets a lot. And in Surah Anbiya, from ayat number 1 to 3, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentions the signs of those who are negligent. He said, اِقْتَرَبَ لِلنَّاسِ حِسَابُهُمْ وَهُمْ فِي غَفْلَةٍ مُقْرِضُونَ. That the time has come for the people. اِقْتَرَبَ لِلنَّاسِ, that Qiyamah is approaching, mankind's reckoning has drawn near to them, yet they are disregardful in their obliviousness. So they're oblivious. They're, completely negligent about it. What are these things? There does not come to them any new reminder from their Lord, but they listen to it as they play around, their hearts set on diversions. Remember the story of a person who said, oh Allah, send me a sign before death comes upon me. And then eventually he died. He said, oh Allah, didn't I tell you to send me a sign? Allah said, yes, we sent you multiple times signs. When your father died, that was the first sign. When many people died in front of you? How many people have passed away in front of us? Just in that recent past, this last 6 months or a year, how many people that we have buried? Alhamdulillah, we're a good community in the sense that we take care of our deceased. And we gather at the graveyards showing this compassion for others who lost their loved ones. It's a good habit. But how many of us seen that? We shouldn't be the ones saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment, how come I was not shown any sign for it to bring me out of the heedlessness and the negligence that I'm living in? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq and ability to ponder over these words of Amirul Mu'mineen and as well as the words of Luqman Hakim from the ayat of Quran, so that you and I don't remain in this heedlessness and in the state of negligence. In the Asl Hadith, وَأَبْلَغَ الْمُوْرِ ذَا كِتَابُ اللَّهِ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ بِسْمِ اللَّهِ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم سبحان من سبقت رحمته غضبه وبسط اليدين بالرحمة سبحان من لم يكلف نفسا إلا دون وسعها وعفى عن السيئات ولم يجاز بها سبحان من لا يزداد على معاصي العباد إلا كرما وجودا وعلى كثرة الذنوب ألا عفوا وصفحا. نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو العطوف على العباد بجوده والعفاد على المذنبين بحلمه. ونشهد أن محمدا نبيه وحبيبه سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين بعثه رحمة للعالمين صلى الله عليه وآله. لقد أمركم الله في محكم كتابه بالصلاة على نبيه وحبيبه فقال تعليما لكم وتشريفا للصفي إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وعلى إمام المسلمين وقائد القر المحجلين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى سيدة نساء العالمين وبذات خاتم النبيين سيدتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله صلوات الله عليها وعلى الحسن المجتبى وعلى الحسين الشهيد بكربلاء وعلي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي عليهم الصلاة والسلام. اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب الزمان ما هي آثار البدء والطغيان هادم أبنية الشرك والنفاق حاصد فروع البغي والشقاق صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آبائه الكرام اتصلت الليالي والأيام. اللهم عجل فرجا وسهل مخرجا واكحلنا غنى بنظرة منا إليه واجعلنا من المستشهدين بين يديه وتفضل على أمرائنا المؤمنين بمزيد التوفيقات وازدياد الإقبال وعلو بالدرجات. اللهم افعل بنا ما أنت أهله ولا تفعل بنا ما نحن أهله بجاه محمد وآله المعصومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين. فإن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم. ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين.
قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائمة قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار بجاه محمد وآله الأطهار الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر ربنا افرغ علينا الصبر وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف الله أكبر الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر
إن الله ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
اللهم صل على
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح جناب فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله عليها. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. واستغفر الله الذي لا اله الا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والاكرام واتوب اليه. قولوا استغفر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن بوليك دعوتك الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آله في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك تبعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Recognize the sponsors for today's Ramadan, the family of Mr. and Mrs. Muhammad Mehdi. Please recite a Surah Fatiha for their deceased relative as well as yours. Bismillah. announcement, the program for announcements. The Sunday, of course, daylight saving begins. So, of course, your phone will be set forward already automatically. Keep in mind, inshallah, Salat al-Fajr tomorrow will be at 5:30, but on Sunday it will be at 6 o'clock. So just keep that in mind. And those who are regular attendees of Salat al-Fajr, tomorrow we will have the time, which is mentioned in the email, at 5:30, but Sunday, inshallah, it will be at 6 a.m. Next Thursday, we will be celebrating the birth of Imam Zamana, Ajlallah Ta'ala. So Sha'ban Jum'ah will be the night of 15th of Sha'ban. Therefore, we will be performing the Amal of Nima Sha'ban, writing Ariza and the other Amal that are associated for that night. Make sure that you attend, inshallah, the program. Also, for children, the same night, there will be children program to keep the little ones busy from ages 5 to 14, rather. So 5 to 7, and then there are different groups. If you have kids that age, while you are performing the amal and you're in the program, main program over here, this could also be spending time learning something which is geared to their ages, their age group. And inshallah, take advantage of that as well. Email was sent out. You will have to register with name and age. There's no fees or anything. You just have to register so that they know the head count of how many kids they are anticipating and what age group. So that is also going to be next Thursday, March 17th, while the Amal and the program is going on over here. That will be taking place in another hall. As you know, that we are going to the updating of the audio visual system. Therefore, all the programs until Ramadan will be taking place right here in this hall, and we will not be using the other halls. Quick announcement: Syed School is holding or doing a fundraiser to chai and cookie. The PTO of Syed School has prepared chai and has prepared cookies, and so whatever donation I guess they have for that. It's a cost, of course, that goes towards the day-to-day activities of Sadiq School and the students there. So do take part in it. There's nothing that much that we can't take part in. So they asked me to make this announcement that chai and cookie fundraising will go along with that. When you go out, you can stop by and you can get something. It's downstairs. It's going to be downstairs. So
Today, outside.
Today outside. So it is right outside. So as you leave, you can stop by and you can chip in, inshallah. Let's remember all those people who are in need of dua, those who are suffering, struggling, going through difficult times, physically, spiritually, financially, mentally. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them all quick recovery, especially Brother Muhammad al-Rizvi, a very dear community member. It's a regular here in the masjid. He is still in hospital. He came in your sincere dua as well by reciting this ayah comes to the masjid. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 ويجعلكم خلفاء وإلهكم الله قليلا ما تذكرون.
اللهم صل على محمد.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربي ادخلني مدخل صدق وأخرجني مخرج صدق واجعل لي من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
اللهم صل على محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم
صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام. وأسأله أن يتوب علي توبة عبد كريم خاطئ فقير بارس مسكين مستكين مستجير لا يملك لنفسه نفعا ولا ضرا ولا موتا ولا حياة ولا نشورا. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من نفس لا تشبع ومن قلب لا يخشى ومن علم لا ينفع ومن صلاة لا ترفع ومن دعاء لا يسمع. اللهم إني أسألك اليسر بعد العسر والفرج بعد الكرب والرخاء بعد الشدة. اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum ya Nabiullah, assalamu alaikum ya Rasulullah, assalamu alaikum ya Amirul Mu'minin, ya Qasid al-Jannati wal-Ma'ad. Assalamu alaikum ya Sayyidina Salamin. Assalamu alaikum ya Abul Fadl Abbas Amir Mu'minin. Assalamu alaikum ya Nasir Sijina. Assalamu alaikum ya Awwal Qawm al-Islam wa Akhir Imana wa Kamahim al-Dinillah wa Qawamin al-Islam. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa rasulihi wa yaqiqa fanimul akhir mu'asim. Tetapi itu harus tolerir awliya, perbuatan kisahnya, perjalanan makhluk. Wajizal jadilah ihsan. Wasallallahu alaihi wasallam akhirnya mengalami rezeki dihindar masyarakat masyarakat yang menggunakan ayat ini 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 rajin mukramina wajibnya memang yang kali ziarah musyahadah ayat bukan menunjukkan kasus sejauh Quran ضروري وستر العيوب وكشف الكروب إنك أهل التقوى وأهل المغفرة. السلام عليكم يا رسول الله جناب الله. السلام عليكم أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليكم أحسن الدين. السلام عليكم أحسن الدين. अस्सलाम वालेकुम या अहल बैत व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातहू। अस्सलाम वालेकुम या साहिब रसूल तमाम या खलीफत रहमानिया इमाम अली शबजा या क़राअत ईमान या तफसील फ़ुरक़ान। अस्सलाम वालेकुम शहीदुल क़ुरआन। अस्सलाम वालेकुम इमाम मौलाना अल्लाह व सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि व ज़ुहूरा व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातहू।